Alrighty. All right. So welcome, even though it's just the both of you. My name is Max in Trinosha. I am a junior VMA major, and I was going to specialize in cinematography. My pronouns are he, him, his. And yeah, this is just the Cinematography Workshop's a seminar on how to or being the director of photography while on a set. So if you guys don't know what is a director DP is, I assume you guys both know. But if you don't, they're referred to as a DP sometimes, and they're the chief over the camera and light department while on set. They're also known as the cinematographer as well. The cinematographer also has the responsibility of shot listing the production that they're working on. I'll show you guys what a shot list is soon if you don't know that either. The shot list keeps the DP, keep the number of shots and kinds of shots they have organized. So if you have one scene that says that you have like 3 shots available and they're like a close-up and then 2 medium shots, that's just so they can keep that organized for themselves and for their crew. And the DP also has the director's vision in mind when shot listing, and while also keeping their own interpretation of the script and the image of the movie in mind. They also have the creative freedom to do so, but usually the director and DP convey that story. It's usually the director's image, and the DP tries to create that. So the director of photography has the creative freedom to be able to know what the shots are and to create the shots, but keep in mind this is the director's film, especially if the director's also interpreting it. If it's not their film, it's if it was written by someone else. But usually nowadays in Hollywood, they're usually written by the director. But I digress. Optionally, the DP can also storyboard their shots, so they have a better idea for what kind of shot they want, especially if they forget it, like I do sometimes. I'm not a big fan of storyboarding, only because uh, I have a pretty bad like drawing skills and handwriting, but you know, it's usually good if you can understand your storyboard. That's great. So if you don't know some sorts of notable cinematographers, these are some of my notable ones, at least that I known and love over the years. We have Roger Deakins, most notable for 1917 as of recently, but he's also done other big films like Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, Skyfall, and True Grit. I am mostly a good fan of Skyfall, Blade Runner, and 1917. Sicario is also a good movie too. Um, and True Grit I have seen once before. Uh, then you got Rachel Morrison. She did Black Panther, Mudbound, and Fruitvale Station. Wally, I think Fister is how you pronounce his name. And then it's Dark. He done the entire Dark Knight series with Christopher Nolan. He did Inception and he did Moneyball, 3 of my favorite movies as well. And then you have Emmanuel Lubezki, who did all of these, were Oscar winning, Gravity, Birdman, and The Revenant. So the responsibilities of the DP, as I said before, they they shot list the movie. They work with their camera department, which we'll go over soon. They may or may not assign roles. At Emerson, that's usually decided by your EPs. If you work on a EIV production, more specifically, your EPs are usually the ones that determine who's on your cam team. So there's that. And then you can also interact. You also interact with other departments such as the director, the AD, and the gaffer, because you obviously have cooperation is a big part of being on a film set. Then you storyboard the movie. That's also a responsibility of the DP. You pick the type of camera that you shoot on, and you choose whether you're going to shoot on film or digital. And then overall, you just decide what the movie looks like. So yeah. So this is what a shot list looks like. This is the shot list that I had for this BFA I just recently worked on, called Criminal Rejects. If you know the director, Mike DePalma, he's great. Really good guy to work with. It was a pretty long shot list. I had about 10 shots in here, roughly 12 of them, but I only took like a mini screenshot of the screen. But this is how you usually organize your screen. There's probably a much more better template in how to organize your shot list, but that's all good and dandy. I usually do it through the the scene name. I separated the scenes based on um location changes, but you can do that either way depending on, when you're the DP of your own production or someone else's production. But it's usually scene, shot number, or shot letter. I usually ignore the take aisle. I usually write it down depending on while I'm on set. I usually write into the column. Then you decide what the shot size is, which is medium close up, mid shot, close up, extreme close up, whatever it is. Then you got movement, which is if there's any movement at all. If there's not, I usually had every shot on tripod for this thing because we didn't really need any handheld shots. I am a big fan of the handheld though, depending on how chaotic the scene gets. Then the type of gear, these should honestly switch. Or no, I should rename this like what kind of gear it's on and then lens. But it was a template I used. And then usually what kind of lens you want to use. I usually have like two options just in case it's too hard for me to know in my own head what the shot will look like. The entire scene is usually the location, but just in case you have like different parts of the room, like if you want the same scene, but it's one person goes into the kitchen, one is still on the couch. And then where if it's inside or outside. And then right here, it's basically the notes for the scene. This is like the description of the shot that you want. So if you want like Brad, so there's these two characters in the scene. They're talking about breaking into this guy's house. I have Jimmy's pacing in front of Brad, so I have Brad's shoulder on one side of the screen, and while I can see Jimmy on the other, and so on. Preferred, that's only there in case you're crunched for time, because sometimes you won't have a lot of time to do the shots that you want, sadly. So usually it's like, hey, is it time to cut this shot? If so, I don't have to keep it in here. But if it's a very big shot that you absolutely need in the film, that's usually you can have this in order for the AD to kind of organize around the important shots. Duration of the shot usually decided based on how long the director wants the scene to go on for, based on the dialogue. And then over here you have if the scene requires sound or not. And most of them do, but some of the scenes also have insert shots. And if you don't know what an insert shot is, pretty much just like an action or like opening the door handle or opening a refrigerator. Basically the use of a hand or maybe just like a shot of looking at a light or something like that. So then also here's a storyboard. Here's some examples of a storyboard. I know Sonic the Hedgehog, good example. But it's a really good storyboard. I found it on Google Images. So here's a storyboard. If you know what a storyboard is, usually they're utilized a lot in the film industry by cinematographers. I saw my first experience of seeing a storyboard though was watching Toy Story when I was younger, and I saw the behind the scenes video of it, and I saw that they were storyboarding an animated movie, and I'm like, that's really interesting. But yes, cinematographers will usually use storyboards in order to lay out what the shot would look like, or what they envision the framing and the look of a scene. Scene notes are often listed beside the storyboard drawings to emphasize the lighting changes, or if there's movement, like this Inception one, for example. There's a shot of a top spinning. Usually you have lists like here, like you're pushing in, so you're zooming in onto the top as it spins, and you show the motions of that. I wish I could draw as good as the DP did for this. Usually, actually, they probably use people to do it for them. And then I'm a big fan of Star Wars. So we have this Star Wars right here just to show the credit crawl, what it looks like, what it begins with. And this was the original one. So then who's on the DP's team? We kind of glanced over it a bit, but basically, if you don't know who's on the DP's team, since he is the chief of the camera department, he's in charge of the camera op, the first AC or the first assistant camera, and then the second AC, the second assistant camera. And they primarily work through this camera department, and they're in charge of it. And they also have connections with the gaffer, the director, AD, etc. And the gaffer is also considered to be a part of the cam team because obviously they're involved in what the shot looks like. But usually the gaffer also manages their own separate lighting department, such as and they utilize grips for that. And so the DP is the head of the department. Obviously, the camera op obviously operates the camera and its movement, and is helped out by his first and second ACs. The first AC's job is to help the camera operator switch lenses if the director calls for it. That's usually also a second AC responsibility as well. But the first AC also pulls focus for the camera operator, because when you have a big camera like this one over here, it's very hard to pull focus when you're trying to hold on to this very expensive piece of equipment. So usually the first AC here usually has their own monitor that they can pull focus on with this. And then the second AC's job is to assist the first AC and the camera operator and to hold and slate the scene, which is this right here. And then the slate, in case you don't know what that is, that's what just keeps the helps the editor determine what the scene is and what kind of take it is, and etc. So the DP has an extensive relationship with others on the set, as I've glossed over before. They talk with the AD, the gaffer, production designer, and the director. The DP and the assistant director, they always talk before, during, and after shooting a scene. Before set, the DP communicates a shot list for the AD so that the AD can organize the set schedule around the shot list. And it is paramount that the AD and DP communicate when a shot needs to be cut or if a shot is changed, so that there's no delays in production, so they don't go over time or cost in a big time production, so that they don't cost the studio money. And in ADs, because ADs hate going over time, because it's their job to basically be, for lack of a better term, they're the jerk on set. They are the ones that have to keep the production going. If they yell, they're usually the ones on set with a walkie-talkie on their waistband, and because they need to control all aspects of the set. And when lighting needs to go up, and when a shot needs to go up, when the director needs to talk to the actors in between shots, and etc. And this relationship is as important as the other DP's relationships with the director, because it's integral to the operations of the set. So the DP and production designer, they have a very limited role with each other, but thus it's still an important one. DP communicates to the production designer, also known as the PD. They organize their own team, obviously, too, but they obviously discuss what's going to be in the shot. If the character is a teenage girl, the production designer's in charge of what the scene looks like, what if it's going to be a teenage girl's room, they probably have posters on their wall, and their bed looks, something else. And they basically control that with the shot list. So if they're shooting in that girl's room, let's say for today, then you got to know what's in the shot and what's accessible in that shot, what you can see. They discuss the logistics of what the location is in the scene that they're filming. And they discuss how a shot can be executed with the availability, what the PD has available, or if the PD has to design something else completely new for the specific scene. So usually, I know Emerson has a prop house in Somerville, which I think is currently closed because of the pandemic. But with that being said, usually pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, the PD has the option to use what Emerson has available, or what the studio has available on big-time Hollywood productions. But for this case, for Inception, for example, they did not, for this in-camera, so Christopher Nolan likes in-camera effects a lot. If you've seen Tenet, that's pretty visible, but I'm not going to spoil that movie in case you haven't seen it. But in Inception, it's been out for years, so sorry if I spoil it for you guys, but there is a part where Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is in this dream, or their entire team is in this dream, and the room kind of flips to kind of show the chaos surrounding the environment for the other dreamer that they're in. So Wally Pfister had to work with the PD on Inception to design a hallway that flipped to create the in-camera effect that you see here. And it's on like this axis here that spins it. And they obviously had some safety guidelines, but just this enemy right here and this one of the main characters here fighting it out and duking it out in this spinning room. And that's kind of the PD's job, is to be able to architect this entire thing right here. So another role that the DP interacts with a lot is the gaffer, also known as the lighting person. The gaffer controls the lighting department and is helped by grips who help assemble and move equipment like C-stands, lighting stands, props, etc. The relationship between the DP and the gaffer is essential to how the scene is lit. Big part of lighting a scene or framing a scene is the lighting, and helps make keep the illusion of the film alive, because lighting looks if the lighting looks completely different on camera versus your human eye, I could look at my room right now that I'm in, and I see an orange light. I see my entire room. But if I have my camera on, depending on how the aperture, how big that is, how open that is, it might be too bright. It might be too dark in my room, depending on the camera. So the lighting kind of helps bring the illusion alive. So the DP and the Gaffer have to be on the same page when it comes to how certain shots are lit and how the lighting setup should function in order to get the scene lit to the DPs and the director standards. And this is also probably the most important role slash relations that the DP will have, which is the director and the DP. Arguably the most important relationship you'll ever have as a DP. The DP makes the director's vision become reality. They communicate all throughout filming, discuss how to make the dream come true, and how to make the script come alive by translating the script into a motion picture shot on these cameras right here. And the director and DP will also compromise on a lot on how a scene should be interpreted, but the director has final say usually. But usually the decision on how the scene should be framed, looks, and appears is usually the DP for the decide, as long as it's not too far out of the way for the DP and director to envision. They should be good. They should have a really good relationship. This is 1917. Sam Mendes and Roger Deakins, good relationship with them. Roger Deakins as well, working with his director. And then you have Christopher Nolan as well, working with his DP. So the second half of your job as the DP is also to decide what camera you're shooting on. And in case you guys definitely know that there are two types of cameras out there that people reference. One of them is a film camera. You have to decide whether or not you're shooting on film or digital. Um, so shooting on film or analog, it's usually called. If you, as a DP, decide to shoot on film, you would be using a film cinema camera, such as what the Emerson has, which is an RE Flex camera, or something that's frequently used on other Hollywood sets, like a Panavision, like a Panaflex camera. This is shot on physical film stock. So basically, what you envision in like older movies. Uh, some benefits of shooting on film are that you get a higher resolution, higher dynamic range, better color. You can give the movie a really cool film look to it as well. Really plays with light freakily as well, depending on if you shoot on color or black and white. But nowadays, if you're shooting on film, usually filmmakers like to shoot on color. And film stocks could range from 16 millimeter, which is what Emerson has on their Bowflex camera in case you're in a film 1 class. Then you have a 35 millimeter, 65, and 70 millimeter, etc. And then some movies that were shot on film, notable. These are just that came at the top of my head. These are my favorite, at least when the ones that are shot on film. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tenet, No Country for Old Men, mid-90s, so much more. They're right here. These are some analog film examples. We got Blade Runner right here, shot on film, No Country for Old Men, mid-90s. I got two Quentin Tarantino movies in here because he loved shooting on 35 millimeter. And he even bought a 35 millimeter. Fun fact: he bought a 35 millimeter theater in case the film world decides not to shoot on 35 millimeter anymore, because he said he will be shooting on 35 millimeter until he retires. So that you got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Reservoir Dogs, and Lawrence of Arabia. Then next you have digital cameras. If you decide as a DP to shoot on digital, you'll be using a digital cinema camera. Some examples are Ursa Mini, Blackmagic camera, a Red Epic, or a Red Dragon, or an RE Alexa, and so much more. I have a friend who shoots on Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, and it looks fantastic. And it only costs like $1,500, depending on how big your budget is. But these cameras right here, down here, film cinema grade cameras that most films are shot on nowadays because the industry is going a lot more digital. These are range from 30,000 to 75,000 to 100,000 to as much of a house costs. These are very expensive cameras, and they are not to be screwed with at all. Some advantages of shooting on digital is that the quality of the film won't deteriorate over time, because if you have a film as physical film stock, it will deteriorate unless it's best kept, which is why they're usually stored in film vaults. You can shoot on HD, 4K Ultra HD. Shots are digitally stored on a memory card or SSDs, so they can also be copied more easily as well. And it's also easy to set up, import, and edit right away. You don't have to wait for film to develop. Meanwhile, you can, as soon as this shoots on digital, you just load it up into your laptop and you're good to go. You can edit right away. And some movies that were shot on digital are Birdman, Gone Girl, 42, Life of Pi, The Social Network, Avatar, so much more. We got more examples here. We got The Social Network right here, Gone Girl, Life of Pi. You can really tell the difference between film and digital. 28 Days Later, it looks like it was shot on film. It was actually shot on digital. 42 right here. And you got Zero Dark 30. So that's pretty much it when it comes to being a DP. But we're at Emerson here, so I'll tell you what Emerson has and what limits you guys have when it comes to being Emerson DPs. Emerson has both film and digital options. If you're in a Film 1 class, you have an access to 16 millimeter Bolex camera, and in more advanced film production classes, you have access to an Ariflex SR2 from the EDC, which is the Equipment Distribution Center. And if you don't know where it is, it's right on Avery Street, right next to Paramount. Emerson has more digital than film options, though. Emerson has Canon C100, C300, Sony FS5. They have the Sony FS7, Sony A7S. I suggested the Blackmagic to them. I'm not sure if they got it yet, but I'll talk to the I'll talk to EIV. I'm pretty sure EIV was in talks to get one, though. But EIV equipment and EDC equipment are very different. So if you have any questions with that, I can get you into contact with someone from the EIV equipment manager if you have any questions regarding equipment. And then also you have access to a Canon EOS DSLR camera in case you have no access to any cameras to shoot on any project. They're very easy cameras to use for photography and video. Emerson also allows you to get certified on either of those cameras, and we also have a wireless follow focus and wireless monitor to go along with that with the transmitters. EIV has that, I'm pretty sure. EDC has that, I'm pretty sure. And you can get certified through these like workshops like this, but you just have to look for them. I recently got certified on the FS7, so that was fun. They take no longer than an hour probably to do those workshops, and they're available on weekdays and weekends. We also have many lenses such as Zeiss prime lenses. We have Zeiss prime lenses, Rokinon, Canon zoom lenses, EDC and EIV. EIV has more Canon and Rokinon, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they have Zeiss. I think they do. But EDC and EIV should have both, all of these lenses. So, my opinion, get on Emerson Sets. Think of Emerson Sets as practice for when you enter the film industry, when you graduate. During my time at Emerson, I was able to be on multiple sets through BFA and BA projects, EIV projects, Emerson channel shows, and I worked on Cam Team for about 5 separate projects while at Emerson. Roughly, I've been a DP twice for this for EIV's student film, which is shooting soon, and then also for this for Mike DePalma's BFA that I showed you guys the shot list for before. I was a camera operator 3 times and first and second AC probably more than twice. And if you make an effort to build / create a resume while in college and go out to hiring weekends, EIVs has just passed. But I'm pretty sure if they didn't have enough turnout, you could always just if they always have openings. They always want people on sets. Might be a little hard to get jobs nowadays because of the pandemic, but it doesn't hurt to ask. You know, if you specifically, if you guys are here to be cinematographers, join the camera teams. See what they're like. It's a great way to build future working relationships and lasting friendships offset as well, because it's always fun to work with friends, but it can be a little daunting and distracting sometimes. But I'm telling you, you will joke around and work well together on set. So join sets. That's what I recommend. Joining sets is the number one way to get better and better on a real set. Not to say that these Emerson sets aren't real. They are more or less practice, I would say, for Hollywood, more or less, to get experience so you don't look like you don't know what you're talking about when you enter the field. No one's going to criticize you at all or make fun of you while on set. So that's just the thing to mention. If you have a question, especially if you're a cam op or even if you're a DP. I know I had questions when I was first time DPing. I always ask the tech EP, what was up, what access do we have to, etc. Your cam team is also a resource too. If you're the DP, you might want to talk to your cam op and be like, hey, what looks good? Do you think the shot looks great? But I've I have met some egotistical DPs, camera people in my life, but um, the goal of Emerson is to create cooperation. That's what I feel, at least. It really is a learning experience for all. So if you're a freshman, I don't know if any of you guys are freshmen, but now is the perfect time to join sets. And if you're interested in being a DP, uh, definitely applying for the cam op position, first AC, second AC positions are perfect ways to get a feel for the camera department on set. I know a few people that just went to go try off to be a DP right away, but that's if you have more experience being on sets from high school. If you are a freshman, um, so there's that as well. But if you already have a resume, go ahead. Like, if you want to try for the DP position, go ahead. Be my guest. It is great. It is a lot of work, though, as you can see right here. These are some BTS behind the scenes stuff of being on set of a student film. Obviously, this was pre-coronavirus because no one's wearing a mask. But right here, you have my camera operator, Dylan Lincoln. That's my first AC, Mark Fitch. Sometimes you will not have a second AC. Um, we're not even allowed to have first ACs due to the pandemic, sadly. So this semester will look a little bit different, and probably next semester will look a little bit different while being a DP. There's me. There's sound team. But right there, that was the small little cam team that I had, but it looked great. We shot on C300. I wanted to shoot on something else, but I was limited last semester a little bit. I was a sophomore, so it does get better when you're upperclassman. We had a small HD attached right there. There's the rack focus, and he's wearing an easy rig to help keep the weight off his shoulders and his back a bit. Here's a view of the small HD of the shot that we were doing. And then here, there's me talking with my gaffer, Min. He is not with us, sadly, because of the pandemic. But there's Mike DePalma talking with his actor right here. So we have two different dynamics. That's why I really like this picture so much. Shows two different conversations happening, but work is still getting done. And then right here, you have, I like this shot a lot. It's me, my camera op, Dylan. You got Mark, my first AC. Then you got the actors, sound team. Even though we were all cramped into the small room, we were all still communicating very well. Everything looked great, and the shots looked really good as well. So overall, in the end, it's all learning experience being at Emerson, learning different rules on set. You don't even have to be a cinematographer. I recommend going out to be a director, a DP, cam op, PD, whatever your interest is. Emerson has it, and it's EIV and the way Emerson formats their sets is a good way to get your foot in the door and build a resume if you don't have one. So work is work at the end of the day, but pick productions you have interest in. I'm currently on the Box Score, good show. Uh, that's also a studio show, but those run differently. But the Box Score is a good one. I'm working on a student film, which is it's just a mockumentary about making a student film. So that got very complicated to shot list, but it was fun either way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions regarding this workshop or the seminar, I don't like when they call it a workshop, but yeah. And you guys have any questions? Are you guys chill? Ready to leave?
I'm good. Thanks, Max. Great job.
All right, no problem. Thank you, RJ. It was
Yeah,
good to
man,
see
that
you
was really
guys.
helpful.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. All right. Thanks for coming out. I know it's a small turnout, but hey, guess what? They're lost. You guys get some tuition credit. So awesome. Great talking with you guys, and hope you guys learned something. If you guys need my number or anything, just let me know. My Emerson email is max_internosha@gmail.com. If you want to talk with me, collab, whatever you want to do, man, I'm all open for it. It's a weird semester, so it'll work out though. All right. Hope you guys have a good one.